Long before the blood and the headlines, I was just another overworked, underpaid mom doing the best I could with what I had, which wasn't much. Mill Creek's the kind of place that looks fine if you're driving through at 40 miles an hour. But if you live here, you know the truth. The strip malls are half empty, the schools are underfunded, and the people who make it out never look back. I didn't make it out. After Leo's diagnosis, severe asthma triggered by God knows what in our drafty apartment, I had to take every shift I could at the hospital. 12-hour nights, sometimes doubles, always short-staffed. I'd come home smelling like bleach and sweat, collapse for 4 hours, then do it again. The car hadn't had AC since spring, and it whined like a dying animal every time I turned the key. My ex, Jason, hadn't sent a dime in 6 months. Said he was between jobs while posting photos from Coachella. That night, the apartment was a furnace. Fans were broken, windows stuck. Leo's breathing was tight, even after his rescue inhaler. Ava was trying to distract him with shadow puppets, but I could see the worry in her eyes. So I grabbed their flip-flops, wiped my face with a dish towel, and we walked 3 blocks to Dunkin. It wasn't about donuts, it was about 30 minutes of cold air and something with ice in it. The Dunkin was our sad little oasis, a place where the hum of the cooler felt like mercy. Even that late, it was usually staffed by sleepy teens who didn't care if my kids touched everything. We stepped inside. I remember thinking how bright it was. Too bright. The kind of brightness that makes your skin feel wrong. Then I saw them. The couple, rich-looking, out of place in Mill Creek at 11:23 p.m. The man smiled. The woman's heels clacked against the tile. I thought maybe they were lost. But then Ava went for the drink machine, and everything changed. I should have known something was off. People like them don't end up in a place like ours unless they're lost or hunting. She had that polished look, a crisp cream pantsuit, heels too thin for cracked sidewalks. Her nails matched her lipstick, clean, precise, expensive. He looked like money too, clean shave. Watch that caught the light just right. Smelled like a department store cologne that costs more than my utility bill. They didn't order anything, just hovered. Ava was babbling about birthday cake culottes. Leo was dragging his stuffed dinosaur, Mr. Chomp, across the sticky floor, wheezing softly but smiling. I bent to check his inhaler level, and when I stood back up, the woman was standing right next to Ava. Too close. "Sweetie, do you like sprinkles?" she asked. My mama instinct screamed. I stepped forward, hand automatically reaching for Ava, but before I could move, the man was behind me, blocking the door. That's when I saw the knife. Small, clean, surgical, like something out of the hospital supply room. He didn't wave it, just held it close like he'd done this before. Wallet. Now. I froze. Not out of fear, out of calculation. I had $15 and a maxed-out debit card in my purse. Nothing worth dying over. But my kids, they were everything. Leo whimpered, clutching Mr. Chomp. Ava looked up at the woman, confused, then scared. The woman grabbed Ava's wrist. I didn't think. I didn't reason, I just moved. My coffee was still hot. Even after the walk, I threw it hard, right into the man's face. He screamed, stumbling back, dropping the knife. I yanked Mr. Chomp from Leo's arms. He cried out and swung it at the woman's head. She laughed until the dinosaur's seams burst open on her temple, scattering pellets and something hard and plastic across the floor. She screamed. Blood poured down her perfect hair. The bell above the door jingled. 2 joggers appeared. The couple turned and ran. By the time the police arrived, they were gone. But that wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. "Ma'am, can you explain why you assaulted these individuals?" That's what the cop asked me, like I was the criminal. The woman was sobbing into a napkin, hair matted with blood, talking about how she was just trying to help a lost little girl. The man, now red-faced and bandaged, nodded solemnly beside her. Said he never pulled a knife. Said I overreacted. The knife was gone. Of course it was. Probably in the Lexus, which had vanished before the cops showed up. I pointed to Ava, still shaking, to Leo, whose breathing was shallow again, to the empty stuffing of Mr. Chomp on the floor, but the officer just sighed. "You got any ID?" I handed him my cracked license. My fingers were trembling, and my knuckles were raw from hitting that woman. I didn't get arrested that night, but I didn't sleep either. Didn't for days. The next morning, my manager called, said I was being put on leave pending investigation. News trucks showed up outside our building. Channel 7 aired the couple's story first. Local nurse. Attacks concerned bystanders in Dunkin' Donuts. They used my badge photo. I looked tired, puffy-eyed, angry. Reddit called me Dunkin' Mumzilla. My hospital said they had zero tolerance for workplace violence. My neighbor stopped talking to me. My lawyer said I had a perception problem. And all I could think about was how close that knife had been to Ava's ribs. 3 weeks passed. My savings vanished into lawyer fees. Leo's inhaler ran out and I had to beg the pharmacist for samples. Ava started wetting the bed again. Then the school called. Leo's teacher had reported me to CPS, said he was drawing violent images, said he was showing signs of trauma. No shit, lady, Mr. Chomp was gone. Leo's best friend. The one thing that made him feel safe. Then my Corolla wouldn't start. On the day of my custody hearing, I cried on the sidewalk while Ava rubbed my back and said, "It's okay, Mommy, we can walk." I carried Leo the last 2 blocks. My heels cracked on the pavement. The judge didn't even look at me when he said we'd reconvene in 30 days. That night we walked to Dunkin'. Out of habit, out of desperation. The manager, some pimply kid in a visor, stepped in front of the counter. "You're banned." For what? For causing a scene. Corporate said so. I stood there, kids in tow under those same buzzing lights. And I realized, even this shitty little place, the one I counted on, wasn't safe anymore. I didn't cry. I just nodded, took my kids' hands, walked out like we didn't matter, like we were never there. 2 weeks later, the Lexus turned up in an alley behind a closed Jiffy Lube. It had blood on the passenger seat and a folder in the glove box. Photos of families. Notes, times, routines, us. We were in there. The news broke at 6 p.m. This time they called me the brave mother who fought back. But no one apologized. Not the cop, not the manager, not the school. And my job? Already filled. They sent a letter. Said I could reapply once the situation calms. Ava still sleeps with the lights on. Leo clutches a ratty hand puppet now. He named it Mr. Chomp Jr. Me. I carry pepper spray and a screwdriver. I park under lights. I never let the kids out of arm's reach. They called it a robbery. Said I stopped a crime. But it wasn't just that. It was the way the world looked at me like I didn't matter, until I did. The way the system only pays attention when you bleed on the floor of a Dunkin' Donuts. I fought that night, not just for my kids. I fought because dying was the only way. Anyone would have noticed we were alive. Some people fall into dead-end jobs. Me? I clawed my way into one. I was supposed to be a lawyer. Graduated magna cum laude, first-gen college student, full ride, until Mom's diagnosis hit during my second year of law school like a freight train I never saw coming. Liver failure, end stage. Hospice came next. Then the bills, all of them in my name. Now I'm 24, working nights at the only Dunkin' still running in Hollow's End, a town that looks like God forgot it around 2008. The rent's cheap, the people are mean, and the job pays $11.50 an hour under buzzing fluorescents that make my skin feel thin. I take my breaks in the freezer because it's the only place I can cry without anyone seeing. I clock in at 10:57 p.m., 7 minutes early, because being late means getting docked an hour. The regulars come and go, tweakers with no teeth, truckers with no patience, EMTs killing time between overdoses. No one tips. No one looks me in the eye. I wipe down the counter on loop, vape in the freezer, refill napkin dispensers. Rinse, repeat. Mom used to teach art at the high school. Now she doesn't remember which pill does what. Every day, I get Voicemails from hospice nurses warning me she's behind on payments, and from payday lenders reminding me how late I am. One of them left a voicemail last week that said, "You want her to die with heat or dignity? You pick." Every night feels like drowning in slow motion, but I keep showing up, because disappearing is expensive. And then, on a Tuesday in November at 3:17 a.m., he walks in. The bell over the door gave its weak little jingle, and I looked up expecting another strung-out regular or maybe a lost trucker. But this guy, he wasn't either. He moved like a guy who always got what he wanted. Mid-50s, salt and pepper hair slicked back, wrinkled Brooks Brothers suit that still somehow screamed money. He didn't fit the scene, like someone dropped a CEO in the middle of a Waffle House. "Black coffee." "No sugar," he said, voice smooth like he'd never raised it in his life. I grabbed a fresh cup even though the pot was stale. Something about him. It prickled the back of my neck. He wasn't drunk, he wasn't high, but his pupils were huge, big enough they swallowed the color in his eyes, like the night was inside them. As I passed the cup over, his sleeve pulled. Back scars. Not clean, not the kind that come from self-harm. These were angry, jagged, like something sharp had bitten into him over and over again. "Quiet tonight," he said, stirring his coffee with a plastic stick, staring into the liquid like it had answers. "You ever think about how easy it would be to disappear someone in a town like this?" I didn't respond. My hand tightened around the mop handle. "They'd never convict you," he continued, smiling like we were just chatting. "Jury acquitted me last year. Hunting accident." He sipped his coffee, paused, and said it, softly, like he was offering me a secret. "Funny how bullets find their way into people's backs." My whole body tensed. I looked around. Empty lobby, drive-thru light off. Not even the cops getting their usual crullers. I glanced at the panic button under the register, thought about pressing it, then he said it. "Cassie, right? Pretty name." I wasn't wearing my name tag. The panic button was taped under the counter. We're told not to use it unless we're absolutely sure, because cops cost the company money and time, but I pressed it, slow, deliberate. He was still smiling when I did it. "You pressed that little button?" he asked casually. "It's okay. I'd be disappointed if you didn't." He took another sip, still watching me. I tried to keep breathing, tried to act normal, but my throat was dry and the buzzing from the lights above sounded like a hive in my skull. He looked around the store like he owned it, like he was casing it. "Tell you what," he said, "this place reminds me of one back home. Not Dunkin, but similar vibe. You ever heard a man scream through a donut hole?" I think I nodded, or blinked. I don't know. He grinned. "Anyway," he said, standing up and brushing invisible lint off his jacket. "Thanks for the coffee, Cassie. Best thing I've had in months." Then he was gone. Out the door like a gust of cold air. I stood frozen until the cops rolled in 8 minutes later. Lights flashing. They didn't ask many questions. Just looked at the receipt I'd kept with the time. One of them, a detective I think, recognized the name. "Grayson?" he muttered. "Son of a bitch." They didn't explain, but I caught a phrase between the officer and his partner. White whale. By noon the next day I was viral. Some asshole filmed the cops showing up. The video hit TikTok, then Twitter, then Facebook. The caption read, "Dunkin girl freaks out over weird customer." My boss called before my shift, said I was on hold, said corporate would be in touch. They were, in writing. "You are being terminated for breach of privacy and improper conduct during a customer interaction." I didn't even get my last check. Mom's hospice nurse texted, "Final warning, payment overdue, discharge scheduled." The landlord put a lock on the thermostat. By the second week of December, I could see my breath indoors. We layered blankets, boiled water on the stove, told Mom we were camping. I tried to apply at Sheets, then the diner on 5th. Got an interview. And guess who walked in? A man in a charcoal blazer, hair slicked back. I ran to the freezer and puked into a box of frozen breadsticks. It's been 5 months. Grayson's name pops up now and then in news articles. Person of interest. High-profile lawyer. Old family money. Always. Alleged. They never arrested him. Never will. But they did confirm he's linked to 3 disappearances. Women who look like me. Broke girls working night shifts in dead towns. The detective called me a credible witness. Said I helped build a pattern. Cool. You know, what credibility gets you? Not rent, not heating oil. Not a job when the whole town thinks you're crazy. I work at a diner now. Same pay, fewer cameras. But I don't wear a name tag anymore. I don't make eye contact, and I don't drink the coffee. Because what happened at 3:17 a.m. in Hollow's End wasn't a horror movie. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a lesson. Rich men don't need masks. They wear suits, they smile. They call you by name when you forget your tag. And the worst part? They don't need to hurt you. They just need you to know they could. I've never liked the smell of donuts. Most people say it's sweet, comforting. But to me, it smells like burnt sugar and unpaid bills. It smells like childhood trauma glazed over with cinnamon. I grew up in the tiny 2-bedroom apartment above the Dunkin' Donuts on Route 9 in Ravenbrook. My parents didn't own the place, though people assumed they did because they worked there more than they lived upstairs. My mom manned the fryer like it was a crucible. My dad mopped floors until his back curled into a question mark. Neither spoke much English. They let their sweat do the talking. We weren't poor, we were trapped. There's a difference. Poverty you can escape, but being the help in a place that grinds you down daily, that gets baked into your bones. My sister, Marisol, was the bright one. 16, sharp as a blade. She wrote poems on napkins and made them beautiful. Said she was gonna get out, go to college. She dreamed in full color while the rest of us lived in brown and beige. Then came December 12th, 2009. That night, she didn't come up after her shift. I remember thinking maybe she walked to the library, maybe a friend's. But by midnight, I knew something was wrong. They found her in the walk-in freezer the next morning. The official report said, accidental carbon monoxide poisoning. Said the vent malfunctioned. Said no signs of foul play. Closed the case in a week, but I was 12. I saw things. I saw the purple bruises on her wrists, the ones the cops said came from lifting heavy boxes. I saw how Luca, my older brother, started wearing her necklace, the one she never took off. And I saw my mother burning Marisol's journals behind the dumpster, eyes like stone, as if incinerating the words would erase what happened. After that, no one mentioned her name again, until I found the shoebox. It was a Tuesday. I was restocking powdered sugar, trying not to gag on the smell of sour mop water and cheap cleaning bleach, when I knocked over a bag and saw it, wedged behind the sugar sacks. A shoebox, water-stained and moldy. At first I thought it was junk, but when I pried it open, the breath left my lungs. Marisol's diary. I knew her handwriting right away, curly and precise, full of slanted letters and crossed T's like swords. The pages were warped. The ink bled in some places. But her words were still there. Some entries were just poems. Others were scraps of her day. Notes about customers. Rants about school. Then, deeper in, they changed. Luca came into my room. Again last night. Mom said I'm being dramatic. She said I'm the one putting ideas into his head. I slept with a chair against the door tonight. I'm tired. My hands shook as I read. The last entry stopped me cold. If something happens to me, that was it. Mid-sentence, no punctuation, no signature. I sat on the floor, staring at the page for what felt like hours. I was 26 now, a line cook at the same place that swallowed our family whole. I'd tried to drown the past in late shifts and scratch off tickets, but it came back, in ink. I knew I had to confront Luca, had to ask, not for closure, for truth. Even if I already knew it. I found him behind the store, leaning against the alley wall like some low-budget gangster, puffing on a menthol while his dealer leaned over. A busted-out hatchback. Luca, I said. He looked up, squinting. Danny, the hell you want? I held up the diary. You killed her. He laughed, real low, like I just told a joke. She was crazy, he said. Made shit up. I stepped closer. She wrote about you, about what you did. He flicked ash at my shoes. Mom said to keep her quiet. Said we couldn't afford another scandal. Not after what happened with the neighbor girl. My stomach dropped. What? Luca's smirk curved like a knife. You think Mom didn't know? She turned off the freezer alarm. Said if Marisol told anyone, we'd all lose everything. That was it. My knees went weak. You watched her die? No, he said, grinding his cigarette underfoot. I just didn't stop it. He walked off, whistling. That night, someone smashed my windshield with a brick. I knew it was him. I went to the cops. They looked bored. The officer flipped through the diary like it was junk mail. This is from 2009, he said. Statute's long gone. But it's evidence. He shrugged. No physical proof, no confession. He said, she said. Case closed. I showed my mother next. She didn't even flinch. She was always trouble, she muttered. Wanted attention. She wrote that you let him hurt her. My mother slapped the diary from my hands. You think I wanted to lose everything for her lies? Luca had a future, scholarships. You think colleges want that mess? Then she spit in my face. Told me I wasn't her son anymore. Told me I should have died in that freezer instead. The manager caught me reading the diary behind the counter, called it theft, said I was bringing negative attention to the store, gave me 5 minutes to clear out my locker, threatened to call ICE even though I was born in Pennsylvania. I was out by nightfall, broke, jobless. 1 week later, I got evicted. Too many noise complaints. Landlord didn't even look me in the eye. Now I sleep in my car behind the dumpster where Mom burned Marisol's notebooks. The diary's with me, water-stained and holy. Like a gospel no one wants to hear. I flip through the pages nightly, looking for something, anything. 1 page is missing. The last torn clean from the spine. I don't know what Marisol wrote. I don't know who took it. Maybe Mom. Maybe Luca. Maybe Marisol herself, hoping it'd stay hidden. I'll never know. But I read the rest anyway. And every time I do, I remember. This isn't just a story about death. It's about being discarded by the people who were supposed to protect you, and how even when you survive, you never come out whole. You don't really live in Redwater. You just endure it. The oil boom dried up before I was old enough to remember what money looked like. And now the only things left are rusted rigs, empty storefronts, and debt that clings like grease. My old man used to say Redwater was cursed. Maybe he was just drunk. But sometimes I believe him. My name's Jesse Cortez. I'm 22 and I work the graveyard shift at the Donut King on Highway 22. Technically, I'm the overnight shift lead. But all that means is I get yelled at when the fryers back up or when Carlos calls out, again, and I have to run the whole damn shop by myself. We've got 3 things at Donut King: broken AC, mold in the mop sink, and a register that's short more often than not. My life? It's duct taped together like the side mirror on my Corolla. I've got a sister at home who needs insulin every few hours, and a dad who vanished last year after maxing out 6 credit cards. He left behind a drawer full of betting slips and a payday loan I've been chipping at $20 at a time. I'm not a hero. I'm not even particularly good at this job. I just need it. Rent's due, title loans breathing down my neck, and the GoFundMe for my sister's meds tanked after 2 weeks. The only consistent thing in my life is 3 a.m., that dead hour where the wind screams through the broken windows of the car wash next door, and the only people who pull into the lot are high, homeless, or hiding something. That night, the storm came down like punishment. By 3:50 a.m., it had turned Redwater into a black and white photograph, all lightning flashes and bone-shaking thunder. Carlos was a no-show. Again, and I was stuck closing solo, with a register short of exactly $20 and a growing suspicion that the town had finally turned on me too. By the time I locked up, my shoes were soaked just from standing near the door. Water crept in through the broken seals like the building was exhaling. I shoved the last trash bag into the bin behind the drive-thru and sprinted through the downpour, hoodie clinging to my back. My Corolla sat under the busted streetlight, windshield wipers twitching like they were trying to wake up. I got in, turned the key. Click. Nothing. Tried again. Click, click. The dome light flickered once, then died. I sat there a minute, phone in hand, no signal. Typical for a prepaid plan. Out here. I swore I had a bar earlier, tried texting anyway. The message hung like a ghost in the outbox. I could have waited till morning, but last month some meth head smashed Mrs. Gutierrez's passenger window and tried to climb in while she napped in her Oldsmobile. I wasn't about to be next, so I started walking. 4 miles to my trailer, give or take. Rain hit sideways. The highway shimmered like oil, and every pair of headlights felt like judgment. The wind carried the stench of ozone, rotting wheat, and wet asphalt. I passed the hollowed-out shell of a Texaco. A coyote darted between the pumps. Somewhere a door banged open and shut in the wind. That's when I heard it, an engine behind me. Low, slow, pacing me. I turned. White van, no plates. The sliding door rattled open just as it rolled past. No logo, no windows. I don't know what. Made me run. Instinct, fear, something older than logic. But I leapt the ditch and tore into the cornfield beside the road. The stalks were taller than me. The mud swallowed my shoes. And behind me, I heard it. Splash, step, splash. They were following. I didn't stop. Couldn't. My legs were burning, lungs clawing for air, but I ran. The corn cut at my arms, ripped the name tag off my Donut King polo. Every few steps, I turned, half expecting to see a face, a silhouette, a shadow. But there was nothing. Just the storm, and something breathing between the stalks that wasn't the wind. I thought I saw a hand reach through the corn, but when I turned, I hit a patch of mud and went down hard. Face first. Keys flew from my pocket. I scrambled, fingers, digging in the muck until I found them. A second later, I felt it, a grip on my shoulder. I whipped my elbow back. Nothing there, no van, no footsteps. But the storm had gone quiet. Just the soft rustle of dying leaves and the sickly hum of the emergency lights from the Donut King parking lot barely visible through the corn. I walked back, soaked and shaking. The van was gone. No tire tracks in the mud. No footprints in the ditch. Just my own, smeared like someone tried to erase them. Back in the lot, I collapsed into my dead Corolla and locked the doors. I stayed there till sunrise. When I got home, my sister was asleep on the couch, half a dose left in her insulin pen. I didn't tell her anything. What was I gonna say? That Redwater was haunted not by ghosts, but by the people no one misses when they vanish? Sheriff Dawson came by Donut King the next afternoon. I called him. Needed to believe someone would give a damn. He walked the field, asked me if I'd been drinking. No tire tracks, he said. No witnesses, and you sure that wasn't just a dream? I showed him the Donut King cup they found floating in the ditch. The lid was cracked like someone had stomped it. That's the one I gave to the last customer, some trucker. He left at 3:30. Dawson shrugged. Probably blew out of the trash. Clean yourself up, Jesse, people are talking. I lost the job that night. The owner said I stole $20. Carlos's shift. But Carlos told her I'd been acting erratic. She didn't even look at me when she handed me the envelope with my last check, $183 after taxes. I wanted to scream. Instead, I walked out with my dignity tucked between two stale donut holes. The landlord came next, said I was bringing bad attention, evicted me with 3 days' notice. Now I sleep in my Corolla. The one with no heat, half a tank, and a tire iron on the floorboard. I check the back seat every time before I get in. And sometimes, around 3 a.m., the burner phone I use for job apps lights up. Unknown number. Always the same. A few seconds of wet, breathing. Then silence. There's something wrong with this town. Not supernatural. Not a monster under the bed. Just a black hole of poverty that eats everything. Dreams, people, hope. Redwater's the kind of place where nobody asks questions when someone disappears. Where the security cameras at Donut King are always down for maintenance, and the sheriff forgets your name if you can't pay a bribe or buy a drink. I never saw the van again, but I still feel it. Every time I walk alone, every time a car slows down near me, every time a stranger steps too close in line, I think about leaving, taking my sister and disappearing. But where would we go? We've got no savings, no family, just each other, and insulin's still $300 a vial. So I work, whatever jobs I can get, and I watch. Every alley, every plateless car, every call that comes after midnight, because I know what I saw, and I know this. In Redwater, the monsters don't wear masks. They wear name tags. They drive white vans. And they always, always come back. Mill Creek used to make paper or tires or something people needed. Whatever it was, it died before I was born. Now we make two things: empty promises and broken kids. I'm Mateo Cruz and I'm 12. I mop floors at the Dunkin en route to most weekends, even though they're not supposed to hire kids. I'm paid in 20s slid under napkins, and my time card's a scrap of receipt paper the assistant manager shoves in his back pocket. They think it's a favor. I think it keeps us from losing the apartment. Mom works the night shift at Greenview Assisted Living, 12-hour blocks that leave her too tired to speak. She calls me her little man. I wish I wasn't. I wish I could just be a kid. But ever since my dad bailed and the asthma meds for my baby sister doubled in price, kid stopped being an option. That Friday started like any other. Cold cereal, a trip to school where the roof leaked into buckets, and a warning text from Mom, "Take the bus, mijo." But the after-school bus doesn't run Fridays and we can't afford Ubers. So I locked my bike to the Dunkin fence after work and started riding home through the storm. The usual shortcut through the Kmart lot was flooded. Knee-deep water, swirling with trash and maybe worse. That left the back road past the old laundromat, where the lights don't work and the windows all stare like empty eyes. I saw him under the busted awning. He was wearing a soaked Dunkin uniform. The color faded to the shade of old gum. His name tag read Jerry, but the letters were peeling like the name was trying to disappear. He looked like he'd been standing there a long time, water dripping off him like the storm was inside him now. "Hey kid," he said, his voice rough like sandpaper. "You work at the Dunkin up the road?" I gripped my handlebars tighter. My heart jumped. I shook my head. "No." He smiled, like he already knew I was lying. The man, Jerry, stepped closer, out from under the awning. His shoes made that awful squelch sound you hear when someone walks through a puddle that's deeper than it looks. His uniform clung to him like skin, the fabric mottled with grease stains and something darker. "I seen you in there, mopping near the back. Saturdays, right?" My stomach twisted. I didn't remember him. And I remember faces, especially adults, who talk to kids who aren't talking back. "I ain't gonna hurt you," he said, coughing hard into his elbow. The sound was thick and wet, like something inside him wanted out. "Just need a lift, I got tips, I'll pay you." He held up a crumpled $5 bill like it was proof he wasn't a threat. His other hand dangled a lanyard, orange and pink like the Dunkin logo, with a plastic keycard swinging off it. The kind we use to access the backroom freezer. The keycard caught the light even through the rain. And that's when I noticed something. The card was cracked down the middle like someone had tried to snap it in half. "You shouldn't be out here, kid. Not in this weather." His smile dropped. His eyes didn't blink. "Bad things happen on nights like this." A car alarm wailed from the street behind me, sharp and sudden. I jumped. He didn't even flinch. "Come on," he said. "Split my tips with you." My fingers ached from gripping the handlebars, but I didn't move. Not yet. Something about his voice. It wasn't angry or loud. It was tired. Not the kind of tired from a double shift. More like the tired from being left behind. He reached out. His nails were brown around the edges and the tips of his fingers looked burnt, like he'd reached into a fryer and didn't care if he got cooked. I kicked off the curb and pedaled like hell. I didn't look back until I hit the corner by the Sunoco station, just far enough to feel like I was safe, but not far enough to believe it. The road shimmered with water, oil swirling like rainbows in every pothole. I half expected to see him in the reflection. Instead, there was just my shadow and the hum of dying streetlights. No sign of Jerry. Didn't stop until I made it home. Our apartment's on the second floor of a 3-story rectangle that smells like mold and wet dog, even on dry days. Tonight, the whole hallway reeked like mildew and burnt popcorn. I pushed my bike up the stairs and leaned it against our door. Inside, baby Luna was asleep on the couch. Her nebulizer mask was askew, mist still hissing from it. I fixed it, kissed her forehead, and locked the door twice. Mom wouldn't be home until morning. I didn't tell her about the man. I just said the shortcut was flooded and I got wet. She nodded, kissed the top of my head, and shoved 2 crumpled 20s into my hand. "Gracias, mi corazón," she whispered. I picked up an extra shift tomorrow. "You okay to watch Luna?" I nodded. I'm always okay, that's the rule. But when I went to take off my wet backpack, something fell out. A plastic slap. The Dunkin key card. Jerry's. I didn't take it. I didn't even get close enough to touch it. But there it was. Cracked, faded, and cold. Like it had just come out of the freezer. That Monday, I saw it again in a photo on the break room bulletin board. "Have you seen this man?" It read. Same name, same face, same uniform. Jerry, last seen closing alone 2 weeks ago. They said they found him in the freezer the next morning. Dead, locked from the inside, clutching his own broken key card. I didn't go back to work the next weekend. Said I was sick. No one questioned. People come and go at that Dunkin like the weather. Loud, messy, and gone too soon, but the key card stayed. I kept it buried in a sock drawer beneath hand-me-downs and old homework. But some nights, especially when it rained, I swore I heard it, not moving exactly, just humming, like the machines in the back room. The assistant manager, Angie, found me in school one day. I guess she had a cousin in the office or something. "You doing okay, kid?" she asked. "We found a note in Jerry's locker. Said someone had been watching him. Said he didn't trust the new kid. She meant me." "I didn't do anything," I said, and my voice cracked like dry toast. She looked tired, older than she used to. She handed me a donut wrapped in napkins. "Don't let this place ruin you," she said. "I worked here in high school. Thought it'd be temporary. Now I'm 33 and my knees sound like popcorn." I wanted to tell her everything. About the man in the rain, about the key card, about how I haven't slept right since. But all I said was, "Thanks." That night I heard it again. The whisper. Through the vent in the living room. A dry rasp. They always come back. Luna stirred in her sleep. I clutched the tire iron. I kept under the couch cushions and stared at the vent until morning. If Jerry was dead. What the hell was talking to me? Mill Creek doesn't care about kids like me. Not the schools, not the cops, not the chain restaurants with their fake smiles and moldy basements. The social worker came by last week. Said she was concerned. Said I looked tired. Asked why Luna wasn't in daycare. I said Mom was working. I didn't mention I'd skipped my last shift at Dunkin. Didn't mention the key card. They don't want the truth. They want an excuse to put us somewhere worse. Yesterday, the back tire on my bike blew. I walked it 5 miles to school. No money to fix it, no time to care. The rain came again last night. Hard, fast, like a warning. And this morning, another envelope under our door. A final notice. Rent's late. Again. I pulled out the key card. It was still cold. I stared at it a long time, wondering how much Jerry made in tips, wondering if the door to the back freezer still opened, wondering if maybe, just maybe, I could use what he left behind. That's how it happens, right? We don't become monsters overnight, we just run out of choices. So now it sits in my pocket. Every step I take, I feel it against my leg. Heavy. Waiting. They say ghosts haunt the place they died. But I think ghosts haunt the people they died for. And if I go back to Dunkin, if I swipe that card, I don't know if the freezer door will open, but I know something will be waiting and I know it remembers me.